I think of the dimensions of marketing as an elixir of an art, a science, and psychology. I see a lot of obsession right now with the science side of marketing, with the AI tools that are available, and of course all the measurement tools to measure your ROI, your CPC, your MQLs, your SQLs, your CACs, your CLTVs. It just goes on and on. And there's a lot of fascination with these tools that are available out there. And these are useful for sure. The science part of marketing needs to guide the strategy part. But the science is only 1/3 of the marketing trifecta. And today I see an imbalance happening amongst marketers where there's this massive amount of importance and fascination and discovery with the AI tools that are happening out there, with the beautiful dashboards and all the rest of it. And it's important for sure because like I said, you do want to use the science part as your compass to guide you, to guide your marketing path. So with the psychology part of marketing, those are the human elements that are constant throughout millennia. The pain points, the preferences, the feelings, the emotions, all of those types of things. And your competition is using exactly the same tools you're probably using for the science part, for analyzing the same audience, the same ICP, the people in your buying group, where you want to discover the psychology and the science behind the buying group, the people who will influence whether your deal is going to happen or not. Out of the different dimensions of the marketing trifecta, the science, the psychology, and the art, the creative is the wild card that you can use over and over to blow out your competition. You're going to be bringing the creative and the data together. So the creative is guided by the science and informed by the psychology. And if you're not going to create a culture that encourages experimentation and creativity, then you better get comfortable with mediocrity. Creativity is the most under-leveraged business advantage a marketer can have, and developing creative problem-solving skills makes you more valuable in today's AI-enhanced environment. You can use creativity to build mind share with your prospects when they are out of market. And by the way, 95% of your market is likely to be out of market. That is, they don't have a buying intention at the time they receive your content. Even though they're not likely to purchase from you at the time they receive your content, you can still build a positive brand awareness that lives on and on in their mind. AI is a tool, and it's only as good as the marketer who's using it. And your competitors are likely to be using the same tools you are. With all these AI tools coming out for targeted reach and analytics, creative will be the only differentiator to cut through the noise and clutter without having to spend more on acquisition costs. Your challenge with AI-generated content will be keeping it on brand and valuable to your audience. Creative is the one leveler for you up against your competition that can level the playing field. You have limited marketing fuel. You have limited time, limited money, but creativity is an unlimited resource. Without adjusting targeting or budget, I have seen through decades of marketing where clear messaging and better creative has had the biggest impact on campaign results and ROI. the idea catcher system. In the introduction module, I go into quite a bit of detail about the idea catcher system. So here I'm just going to do a very quick overview. You can go back to that module if you haven't watched it yet. It's the first module in this series in the Creative B2B Marketing Course series. After I spend a few minutes introducing myself, I go into several minutes of discussing the idea catcher system, the digital parts of it, as well as the notebook part. I'm just going to do a very quick summary right now for those of you who may not want to take the time, or maybe you've watched it already and that was a few modules ago, so this will be a very quick review. If you haven't set this up yet, you definitely need it by now. You actually needed it 3 modules ago, but so here's, in a nutshell, here's what it's about. There are lots of wonderful notebooks out there, and I love them all. The moleskin ones, that open different ways, different kinds of paper. I like grid paper or blank paper. I recommend you do not use notebooks that just have horizontal writing lines in them, because you want your ideas to be able to have dimensions and shapes and things like that aren't just writing. The Baron Fig notebooks are wonderful. The problem with all of these is that you cannot remove the pages and you cannot reorganize the pages. And most of them are also too small. I prefer a B5 size notebook, which is about 7 inches by 10 inches. And this one uses the disc bind system. I got these metal discs from Levenger, and I really like these. A lot of them, the ones with Amazon, will come with plastic discs. You can get this plastic cover for them. Definitely get dividers so that you can organize. You're going to want to rearrange your notes and organize them by different types of categories, such as campaigns, for example. So you might have a webinar coming up, and you'll have several different notes and ideas and concepts and whatnot for that, but you'll want to keep that very separate from maybe a product launch that you're doing or a longer term campaign. You want to be able to reorganize your ideas, but you want to be able to capture them quickly and fluidly in your paper notebook. Have some pins. So these are some of my favorites. I just like different colors and different thicknesses of tips, and different different types of roller balls and things like that. I don't bother with pencils because erasing lines and trying to redraw things is too finicky. I just go in there with pen and start working with it. We're going to talk about that more later when we get into the books that I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you several books for inspiration. Also, the disc-bound system enables you to reorganize your notes into other notebooks. I have different archive notebooks. The gray ones are the archive ones with the silver rings. So I'll take several of my ideas, and if there's something that have to do with a different type of subject, maybe something worked out to be a really good idea and I want to come back to it later, archive it in a different section, I keep the archive notebooks for reference. And then the go-to notebook, this is like my everyday carry notebook. As for the digital side of the idea catcher system, I'm not going to go in and show a bunch of screenshots and how I organize things or things like that right now. I do that in the introductory, so you can go in and watch that if you want to see how I work and how I organize things. I use Microsoft OneNote. I think that Notion can work pretty well as well. There's lots of different ways to structure it. It's very important that the notebook app that you use have a corresponding app that works on your phone. Sometimes you're out running around. You could be going for a walk, stepping away from your computer. You might be on vacation. You come up with a really good idea for something. You can transcribe it, just speak to it on your phone. And when you get back to your desktop system or your laptop system, it's going to be there for you to develop those ideas. The whole idea here is that you want to be able to capture ideas quickly, fluidly, and lucidly as they're happening so that you don't let any of the good ones get away. On the digital side of things, I like to use OneNote to make screen captures, and I'll put URLs in there of certain websites that I really like to reference. And I like that you can set up little text blocks next to your screen captures, your URLs or whatever, move those text blocks around. And those are the thoughts that I have or the ideas that are relevant to those particular captures that I'm making. One might work great for a product launch campaign. Another one might be a really good idea for a trade show or an event or something like that. So that's just the nutshell of the idea catcher system. And now we're going to dig into some of the books that I have found inspirational and useful for generating ideas, stimulating new ideas, and processes for capturing your thoughts. The first book I'm going to talk about here is called The Sketchnote Handbook. This is by Mike Road. Mike is an illustrator. That's going to be obvious once you start flipping through this book here. And the object here is to not make an illustrator out of you. Here is to get you thinking more in terms of ideas and also being able to think about the hierarchy of your ideas. This is critical in marketing messaging. When you do the advertising, your landing pages, your website, your Google ads. So this further stresses the point. Don't try to think that if, that you have to make beautiful drawings. Okay, I've mentioned this before. Nobody expects you to be Andy Warhol or Picasso or anything like that. But anybody who, you started in kindergarten and anybody can make circles, squares, triangles. If you can sign your name, you can learn to draw. And you don't need to learn to draw to be an artist. You just need to be able to make shapes and concepts that express your ideas quickly and fluidly. And this can be faster than writing out your concepts and how they relate to each other. Sometimes drawing just boxes with arrows and shapes can help communicate ideas faster and more accurately than writing things out. That's another reason why I'm not a fan of lined paper, by the way. Moving along here, so first thing, create a title. He likes to do his sketches and create his sketch notes and then photograph them and possibly make comments on the shot, on the photo of his notes. So it's like notes on your notes, or sometimes you may even take your notes, like a diagram or something, and refine it, actually rebuild it in PowerPoint or even an Excel spreadsheet so that it's all cleaned up if you were going to present that idea to the rest of your team or to leadership. The next book here is pretty sophisticated. This is probably more for product developers, professional graphic designers, things like that. But there are sections of it that are really excellent for people who just want to be able to illustrate their ideas in conjunction with using words and descriptions. This is Drawing Ideas by Mark Basinger and William Bardell. Here you can start out with very simple shapes. This is an excellent process for concept development for different ideas. If you want to come up with a lot of different ideas very quickly and very rapidly for, say, a campaign, you might have a campaign banner that's going to be used for your landing page, for your email banner that goes out, promotional emails. maybe also a LinkedIn ad. So you want to use the same imagery of your campaign for the different communication elements that goes out. This will give your campaign consistency. It will look much more professional than if you just use different images. And this is a whole part of your brand development and your brand communication that we talked about previously. So sketching out quick little thumbnails of different ideas for what that concept could be, or even the same concept in different formats, because some of your formats are going to be very strong horizontals, like for a banner on a landing page, for example. And other concepts might be, if you're doing a LinkedIn ad, it might be vertical or square. It's just how your format is going to be. So you might do some different, very quick, loose little thumbnail sketches to work out your hierarchy of information. Here you can start with just a stick person. I mean, if you can write your name, you can draw a stick person. Okay. So evolving that stick person into blocky little shapes to give it some attitude, some poise, help describe the emotion behind the stick person. Are they excited? Are they quiet or contemplative? Are they simply peaceful? So this helps you sketch and communicate those different emotions just with some very simple shapes. Here we've got the classic web page design, your banner across the top, maybe some different tabs to organize information, some videos, things like that, just on grid paper. But these are the kinds of things that you should be able to do, even if you're a CMO marketing executive. It's important to be able to think through your ideas, and if you render them quickly on paper, you'll discover pitfalls and glitches and opportunities very quickly, much quicker than if you were in a program like PowerPoint or something like that. If you're in PowerPoint and you tried to build this web page, for example, and you're just putting blocks of information in there, you're fidgeting around a lot with your typography. How big should it be? Where the different fonts that you're using? It just gets too fidgety. So the purpose here is to stay very lucid and to keep moving from idea to idea quickly. Sketching to clarify your thinking. Again, these loose little sketches off to the right of the page over here it's just common with what anyone in marketing should be able to do. It's a language to be developed. Also, this reminds me, I didn't really talk about this in my idea catcher system, but I should have, and I neglected to do that. I like templates. I'll get these from Blix or from jetpins.com. But when you see these little boxes and all these little drawings of boxes and things and the sketches that I'm showing you, you can just take a template and very, very rapidly put 5-6 little boxes on a page and start working your ideas up. Or if you're doing a web page, you can get different templates with different kinds of shapes. So you don't need to be any kind of artist to do this, but using these types of shapes, templates and things, and just slowing down, pencils before pixels, slowing down, doing some things by hand, and pull yourself away from your screen, go to a coffee shop, go to the park, maybe a different part of your house if you work from home. Spread out your stuff, slow your brain down. I know everybody wants to work with a sense of urgency. I hear that all the time right now, and you're going to hear me rip on this in YouTube videos a little later. But this sense of urgency, and that's what your leadership thinks. They think you're doing a good job, and they value a sense of urgency, right? A sense of urgency is not what connects with your target audience and with your prospects. Your prospects connect with an idea and a concept and information that is valuable to them. This next book has a very provocative title here, but don't take this the wrong way. Steal Like an Artist by Austin Kleon. I'm not encouraging you, and neither is Austin, we are not encouraging you to just go out and rip off other people's ideas and call them your own and run with that, okay? Especially in the world of advertising and marketing, right? You'll get branded a hack in a very short period of time, get yourself in trouble. What this is about, you'll notice that through the ages, since the dawn of time, and man could pick up, or women, could pick up a stick and start making marks with it, that the evolution of ideas are built upon other ideas, okay? When the Beatles came up with pop music that was so original and so they blazed trails in the pop music world, they didn't just start with a blank piece of paper. They were smashing ideas together. They were taking bits of classical music, and even Jimi Hendrix would do this. Jimi Hendrix would take pieces of classical music and play it backwards, play the musical notes backwards. So ideas come from smashing different ideas together. And you're going to hear me talk about this again later when we get into process and to creative process. So Steal Like an Artist is, you'll see artists taking each other's ideas, especially the Impressionists, for example, and the Fauve artists and all kinds of artists throughout, especially after the sort of the Baroque period, but even before then, they were capturing each other's ideas and expanding them and pushing them into new areas. That's what this is about. It's about crashing ideas together that already exist and taking ideas that are out there and pushing them into a different dimension. So yeah, this is great. This is great advice here. We're on screen 20. Step away from the screen, okay? I've been telling you this when you hear me say pencils before pixels. This is what I'm talking about. Get away from the screen. Go to other places to think and to work out your ideas without your laptop, or with your laptop with you, but just leave it turned off for a while you work in your sketchbook and work out some of your ideas in your sketchbook. Stand next to the talent, just a list of items that come in handy when you're out there, okay? Now this is important, especially for well-educated people who take themselves very seriously. I'm talking to you, Mr. CMO and CFO and CEO, executive leader. A willingness to look stupid, okay? Nobody wants to look stupid in front of their team. Nobody wants to be professionally embarrassed in front of the leadership team or in front of their own team. But to yourself, have a willingness to be the fearless fool, where you're fooling around with ideas that are even a little weird or even a little crazy. But it's important to fool around with those ideas, because some of the best and most profitable advertising campaigns and promotions and product features have come out of some pretty crazy ideas. Even the computer chip, for example. Did you know that the computer chip was developed from a combination of the printing press and transistor electronics? A printing press can lay down ink in very, very small, delicate. If you make the ink metallic so that electricity can flow through it, you can develop computer-sized circuit boards. So just one example of those ideas being smashed together. Choosing what to leave out is also critical. People talk about creating white space, or have a lot of white space in the design because white space is attractive. What they're really getting at is choosing what to focus on. It's eliminating clutter, eliminating content that is not useful and not focused on the message that you're communicating. That's what we're talking about when we're saying it needs more white space. We're really saying choose what to leave out. The badass note taker and OG of all time, Leonardo da Vinci, was the ultimate sketch artist, note taker, content developer. It's great just to look through his stuff. I like just looking through his work just to stimulate my brain. This is a book called The Complete Drawings by Taschen. I'm not sure who that is exactly. It's incredible to look through Da Vinci's work, his drawings especially, and realize that these were created with a piece of charcoal and a piece of paper. That's all he had. He didn't have he didn't have digital, just going onto the website and looking at stock photography or a bunch of images in front of him or magazine photos to look at. He didn't have reference. The only reference he had is what he could directly observe. So in looking through Da Vinci's sketches, I am really struck by his enormous curiosity and inquisitiveness. And I think as marketers in the age of AI and having instant solutions just available by typing in a few simple words and pushing a button, and we get all this eye candy that gets regurgitated out of AI in different styles and bright colors, whatever artistic style we want. I think it would be tragic if we were to lose our curiosity, our inquisitiveness, and our analytical ability to think about what we're looking at, to take it apart, to understand its parts. Leonardo, obviously, he worked on cadavers. He was fascinated by the world around him, not just people and horses, animals, and things like that, but he wants to understand how they work, how they come together, how the parts fit together, and why they fit together like they do. You look at his notes here, and he does have his sketches, but look at the notes off to the side of some of these where he was writing. And get this, he wrote this stuff backwards as well. He wrote it backwards so that he wouldn't be so people couldn't read it, so ignorant people couldn't read it and label him a heretic for his thirst for knowledge and understanding. So he's interested from anything from the human body to architecture, how buildings are constructed, the design of how humans move through the buildings, but also the construction processes that they use to build them. Also gear systems, and here, so far ahead of his time, here we're looking at the birthplace of the Industrial Revolution, how gear systems fit together and can leverage energy to get the optimum effect or the optimum use out of energy. I would be remiss here if I didn't mention one of my all-time favorite books on marketing, Jumpstart Your Business Brain by Doug Hall. There is no relationship to me. His first book is Jumpstart Your Brain, which is just an incredible book, also having a lot to do with marketing. So Doug was a marketer and worked with product development for, I believe it was Procter & Gamble. It's been a while since I've read this book, but the concepts I've gotten out of this book are absolutely timeless. Most of them have to do with psychology. So the psychology of your audience and the people that you're communicating with, which is timeless. So it's just as relevant today in the digital age as it was when he wrote this, which websites existed when he wrote this, but it was pretty early in the internet days. He really digs into understanding what works in marketing, and he's done thousands of experiments, different ideas, generations of ideas, and then measuring all sorts of quantitative and qualitative psychological metrics. And this one's great just absolutely relevant today. Your target audience, we already talked about the buying group, identifying them, identifying who your champions are, your detractors are. The overt benefit, not just the benefit, what is the overt benefit? And what he's talking about here is when I was saying, don't be the better company that offers XYZ, be the only company that offers XYZ. So what is so unique about your solution and your product that you can say that? And I know it's a complicated question because a lot of products, SaaS software, project management software where you've got Hive and Monday.com and Jira and Asana, and all the other ones. You can even use Notion for that. How do which one of those would you be able to say this one has the overt benefit? Just none of the others have this. This is the thing that it does that's really cool. So you got to contemplate this with your own products, your own product development team. From a marketing perspective, if you don't have that, if you don't have an overt benefit, you can still effectively market your product and drive sales, increase your ROI, build your brand, all that stuff. You're going to have to work hard at creating a different marketing perception than if your product simply has a benefit that the others don't have. The other aspects here when you talk about the real reason to believe, so testimonials are awesome. Testimonials are better than numbers. If you say, oh, we have 500 clients, that's just a number that's, well, okay, your competitors say they have 700 clients, so should we go with them? If there's a burger place that sold 1 billion hamburgers, do I want to be 1 billion and one? No, I want the one that's right for me.